Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about why I decided that I am a reincarnated Sybil. That's what I think I am. I've just been like, all these retrogrades lately have just been insane, and everything in 2020 has been crazy. We've been going backwards in time. We've been in a time warp. And anyways, if you haven't, I have. And as you can see here, I'm the Sybil of Cypress today. Do you like my beautiful gilded eye makeup? We're gonna do this look right after, but I wanted to do something really fun. If you haven't already known, I will just say it again, but I have started astrology school, and from what I've learned from the retrogrades is I'm learning that I've been able my whole life to foresee the future in some way, shape, or form. I can just tell. It's just intuition. Call it goddess energy, call it what you want. I do have a Kazemi stellium in the house of the goddess with my sun and my moon and my Mercury and my Jupiter and my Venus, all in the third house. So I do have that in my birth chart, which I believe that birth charts are like looking at a strand of DNA. So I do have some interesting DNA. I do feel like I have, that I am an oracle. Sometimes I feel things before they happen, like earthquakes. Sorry, that was like a little piece of this. Occasionally I have felt earthquakes before they have happened, things like that. I'm really attuned to the earth, to animals. I guess you could call me a bit of a Snow White. But anyways, I have recently felt like, you know what, I resonate mostly with being a Sybil. If you know anything about the Sybils, there was like the Sibylline oracles, and basically they used to give their information about astrology and masculine and feminine energy. They gave it to the kings and they gave it to Rome. In fact, one of the most amazing Sibylline oracle stories is that she sold the information that she had of how the universe works and everything. She sold it to Rome. And then Rome then, translated everything into the Bible. So that's the theory. And so basically, I just kind of feel like that's why I've also been drawn to astrology, because I want to actually understand everything from the right perspective and the real way to look at it. So I have been studying a little bit of astrology. Background would be, my astrology background has mostly been Vedic astrology, but I'm learning tropical astrology, which is like kind of the original, according to how the original universe was created and how the energies move from then. Whereas Vedic is described more like sidereal, where things are in the sky right now, because things have shifted. Anyways, I wanted to do something fun and really interesting with this energy. And I wanted to, in school, we have been studying the sun and the moon. And those are very much father, mother archetypes. I have studied archetypes my whole life, studying the Bible. I was in a religion, and it had a Greek meaning. It means brethren in Christ in Greek. So there you go. You think that's a coincidence? No. The Greek is very, very particular with root words, which hence why I'm calling myself the Sybil of Cypress, because Cyprioti is Cipriete in Italian, and it means Cyprus. When I was in Italy, they were like, "Oh, you're from Cyprus." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that." So yeah, studied archetypes, and the sun and the moon are very much strong masculine and feminine archetypes and how our souls move. And that is really what I've also been studying. I'm going to be writing a book about how our souls move in very, very specific, taking a look at that. So I'm not going to go over any of that today. What I thought we could do is something, like I said, fun. Look, when we're studying the sun and the moon right now, I'm thinking of leadership. I'm really thinking of leadership and like who leads. And what I'm learning is the women actually used to really be more advanced kind of than men. And I don't really want to bring up that topic today. I really just wanted to do something fun for, which I don't even know if it's going to be considered fun because it might be very controversial talking about the next presidents. But I thought, you know what, if I just take it from a perspective of this is just based on intuition, this is not based on my own personal political beliefs. I don't really have political beliefs. I wasn't even allowed to vote my whole life. It was against our religion. So I am not political. I'm just looking at this from a leadership and a divine masculine feminine energy flow of the universe, and starting to understand astrology and astronomy, the way the planets are rotating and moving is kind of what I'm learning. So I thought, you know, I've been obsessed with this right now. Why don't I just be creative and think of something to entertain you? And so my thoughts are on who is going to be the next president. And wondering if I can guess based on my intuition and my new knowledge about astrology, combining it all in with my intuition, my DNA, what I've learned, what I feel, what I've been gifted with, and past life energy and information in my blood. So I thought, you know what? I do have thoughts on this. Might as well just share it. So like I said, I'm not political. We don't need to argue about anything here. I honestly do not care who the next president is, as far as like I don't have a certain opinion. I'm not going to be promoting one way or the other, but I will just give this to you from a perspective of my opinion and two other very well revered astrologers in the Vedic astrology community. So my thoughts are going to be a little bit supported by some of their research as well, which I will link below because it's not my research. So yeah, so basically I wanted to say that my first ideas when I was looking at this whole thing is also understanding my own personal chart. There's some specific things that I've learned about how energy moves in the universe according to my chart. And what I've learned is, you know, especially in my astrology classes, is that Mercury is a very important planet because Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. Sorry, to Earth. Closest planet to Earth. So, and you know, everything revolves around the sun, everything in the universe. So basically, I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we go through some of these charts, but Mercury's energy is really important because of that reason. And I will say that what I am going to do for the first prediction is we're going to talk more about for the next presidential election. But first, while you hang on, first I'm going to go through who I think is going to win in 2028. I hope that's not cheating, but I thought this would be fair to give you something positive before we get into the really negative of the truth of what I'm finding. So basically, who I think would be an excellent president based on his astrology and based on the energy in his DNA is, my guess is, or my choice would be, I think a really, really great president for the United States would be Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek Ramaswamy, that's his name. You can look up his presidential debates highlights. They're really good. I've seen his chart in both Vedic and tropical, and he's really, really good. And the nice part about talking about this right now is whether or not this is controversial for you or whatever, like he's a newcomer to the scene, so I think that he would be really, really amazing. So I'll just kind of give you some of the highlights of his chart, and I can place that up here. But in Vedic astrology, his ascendant is Sagittarius, Sun in Cancer, Moon in Taurus, Mars in Cancer, Mercury in Cancer, Jupiter in Capricorn, Venus in Gemini. So remember what I said about Gemini, Mercury. Then he's got Saturn in Libra, Rahu in Aries, and Ketu in Libra. So yeah, I think because he has a lot, like his sun is in Cancer, that's the archetype of the sun and the moon. The sun is the father, the archetype, you know, but his sun is in Cancer. So that means that is energy that's evolved in his chart. So his water energy of his Cancer energy, which is the moon, right, is evolved in the sun because it's the most brilliant part of his sun energy. And then his moon is in Taurus, which I think is really, really good. What is really also very good is his Saturn is in Libra, and these placements for him make him somebody that is going to be very good at making very quick decisions and making very good balanced decisions. So quick and balanced decisions. And his Mercury is also in Cancer. That's also a really, really good placement. And he speaks so well. Like, he went to Yale Law School, so he's like also a lawyer. So I don't know anything about him. I'm just looking at his chart. So his chart looks really, really good. I'm going to link Joni's review. She did a whole video on his chart. She likes his chart too. And I really like his energy in Vedic astrology. Now I'm going to look it up in tropical and give you some more highlights there. Okay, Vivek Ramaswamy. Okay, so his ascendant is in Sag in Vedic. Okay, so in tropical, which is more authentic energy, his soul he's got balance between all the fixed energy, which I really, really like. I really like that he's very balanced in all of the fixed energy. Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. His rising, descendant, midheaven, and IC. I really like that. Also, his Uranus is in the 11th house in Sag, which that's Jupiter, right? Ruled by planet Jupiter. And his Neptune is in the 11th house. So I really like that. I like that his Saturn placement is really good in the 10th house of career and money and finance. That means he's going to be really successful and he's going to make good money, and that would be good for the country. I think for him to be backed by Saturn and Mars really strong in the 10th house would be really good, also along with his Pluto, which has probably already brought about a lot of changes in his life for the better. Now, let's see. And his moon is in Gemini. So I like that too. Remember, I said I like planet Mercury. So I like that. And it's in the 4th house. And the 4th house is the father, a house of the father. So I like his chart. I think if you listen to him speak, he's an excellent speaker. I think he would be an excellent president. But according to what I'm looking at here and between the other situations that we have going on, I don't necessarily see him being, I like his sun energy too. His sun is in Leo with his Mars, and that's fire, and that's very balanced, fixed fire, along with his Mercury. So I really like that too. And that's in his 7th house, which is very balanced, right? So his sun is very balanced, and his Mars and his Mercury. So I really, really like that placement. So, but I don't necessarily think that it's going to align right now. I think what we're going through with all these retrogrades and then the Venus transitions and everything like that we've just gone through, the 8-year cycle that we've gone through with Venus. I don't necessarily think that he will be next in line, but who knows? You know, he looks like a great candidate. If you're interested in him for presidency, he's got a great chart. Okay, now to the bad news. That's good news. Now bad news. Bad news, in my opinion, is I've had it confirmed with other astrologers that I really like working with, and their opinions, that let's go to we're gonna look up Joe Biden next. Since he's our current president, we'll look him up next. So a little bit more good news is the economy should be picking up second quarter by next year, 2024. Another good news. Okay, so some bad news is as far as things happening and things coming up, there's going to be some difficult things that come up for President Biden and former President Trump. Treacherous things that are going to be happening from now until like June of next year. So for both of them at different times. So there's going to be Biden's gonna look really bad on the scales or whatever, like how they grade all that or whatever. And there's gonna be some things happening there. He's got some really negative transits coming up, and so that's not really looking good. And the other thing is that I'm looking at his chart, and he has, now let's look it up in Vedic first of all. So in Vedic, he has ascendant Scorpio, sun Scorpio, moon Aries. Okay, wait, let me just talk about Scorpio. Okay, so he's a Scorpio, and he's got, in Vedic, he's got sun, and his rising is Scorpio. Okay, so my rising is Scorpio as well in tropical. So anyways, Scorpio energy is, it's evolved water energy. Okay, so it's good evolved water energy, right? Then he's got his moon in Aries, which is the beginning, right? Aries is the first constellation. Mars in Libra, so his Mars is right with like Venus, right? Mars in Libra, Mars with Libra. And his Mercury is in Libra, so he's got balanced, which is kind of what I think everybody liked about him in the beginning, was he's got like balanced communication, was very balanced, right? And I think we liked that. We seem to like that better than too much communication. And anyways, he's got balanced communication. His Jupiter is in Cancer, which is from the moon energy. His Venus is in Scorpio, and Saturn in Taurus, Rahu in Leo, Ketu in Aquarius. Okay, so that's his energy in Vedic. And I do kind of feel like he was in line with the United States chart. But let's look at his chart in tropical now. So he has moon in, he has moon in Taurus in tropical. He's got his sun in Scorpio. So sun is in Scorpio in both, okay? So sun in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio, and Venus in Scorpio. So basically Venus, Mars, Mercury, and Sun, all in Scorpio. In between the 11th and 12th house, depending on what house system you use. And we've just been going through major things that have been disrupting. The 12th house is also kind of like the Pisces house, right? So we've just gone through major things relating to that house. And so I think that it was really good for him that his Mars was in the 11th house. And I think that's what also made him president. All of those energies were going strong at that time. Really strong. And his Jupiter is in Cancer, which, you know, was good. These are retrograde. His Jupiter and his Pluto are retrograde. His Pluto is in Leo, and his Saturn is in Gemini, and his Uranus. Okay, so his Saturn and Uranus are in Gemini, which was when we had the fall of Trump, right? We had, like, Trump was a Gemini, right? And he, you know, he's already had all these disasters and everything. Well, things have changed. These retrogrades have changed things. So I think things have changed. And I think that he's still going to be going through some difficult things. There's going to be some up, you know, like it's just going to be all over the place. Like, we never know who's going to make it until like the day of election. It's going to be like another one of those things where it's like, we don't really know until like that night, you know? So I really see that happening again. It's going to be really close. But because I'm just giving based on intuition, I don't think he's going to win. I just see his energy, his timing to be done. So Now, what everyone is not going to really be happy about is I'm going to look at the other chart that we have to look at is Donald Trump. And I will read his in Vedic astrology. He's got rising in Leo, sun in Gemini. So he still has that ascendant fire energy, which I think is really good for the soul. Is this, like the sun leads the soul, right? So his rising is Leo. So that's really excellent. And the nice thing is that it's in both. So it's his rising in Vedic and it's his rising in tropical. So I really like that. And his sun is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, which is important. And his moon is in Aries, Mars in Leo in the first house, and it conjuncts his rising. So his rising is conjunct with Mars, which means he's very passionate, like very, passionate about making money, passionate about it, all that stuff. Everything he does is passionate. That's in his first house. And his Mercury is in Cancer, which is that water feminine archetype, in the 12th, along with his Saturn. They're both in Cancer in the 12th house, which is still being worked out right now. It's still being, all these shifts and all these changes that happen with the planetary changes are still going on. So what I'm seeing here is his sun and Uranus is in the 10th house, along with his Mercury in the 11th and his Saturn in the 11th. And I think as we are heading into the age of Aquarius, I think those are going to be important things. I see him aligning up with the new age of Aquarius. And I'm sorry, but even Joni Petrie said that. She's like an amazing astrologer. Not for these reasons. She has her own reasons. I'm giving you my reasons. I think that he might have a strong chance of still making it. His Neptune is in Libra, his Jupiter is in Libra, and his Jupiter is pretty much kind of in the 3rd house. So I'm also looking at this according to some things that are very particular in my chart as well, because my moon is in Aquarius, and my moon actually is very close to the USA chart of the moon is in Aquarius at 7 degrees in the USA chart, and mine's at 15 degrees, so it's close. So along with the things that I'm learning in my life and along with certain things, he's always kind of lined up with certain things. And I know that, but like I said, I'm not trying to promote anybody for president, any particular person or whatever. I want what the people and what God chooses and the universe chooses. That's who I want. I'm just giving you the lowdown and the heads up from just an intuitive and from a psychic, kind of like message here. Like, this is what I see. This is what I see strongly in the chart. And even Joni Petrie had mentioned that she thinks that he has a really, really good chance. And I will link her video below so you can also read hers. And her video is actually really amazing. So we might have to brace ourselves for some really, really interesting things coming up. It's like, hold on to your hats and sunglasses. This here is going to be the wildest ride in the wilderness. It's like going to be like a Disneyland ride, like it's going to be all over the place. It's going to be, they're both going to have she called it treacherous. They're both going to have very difficult things. And then my Vedic astrologer, he's Indian. His name is Gurmeet Singh. And even Gurmeet says that Biden's in for, unfortunately, some very heavy things. Transit. So the transits tell us a lot more. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not a certified astrologer yet. I'm just a cute little Sybil that wanted to give you like a, like a prediction, a psychic prediction of what I really feel and have learned. And I'm really curious how it will turn out, but I wanted to get it on the books, and my Mars is in Sag, and I'm like, I want to say it. I'm like, I want to put my idea out there. I think it's fun. I think it's really, really fun. So yes, I will be, hang tight. I'm going to show you how I did this cute Sybil eye makeup look, and stay tuned for that.
Okay, so I'm using two Natasha Denona palettes, the Gold palette and the Retroglam palette, and the Blend Bunny Lure palette, which is like a mermaid palette. I use the greens. I'm using Uncharted, and I'm doing a halo eye with this color here, Uncharted. And I'm using more of a mapped out approach in my artistry than previous years. I was going to go for a spotlight halo eye, but then it morphed into an elongated version, which is more Halloween-y. So I'm using a heavy amount of tape under my eyes because it's just easier to clean up with really, really dark shades. And I'm using a flattened brush to map out Uncharted against just using an approach to creating the darkest shades on the outside. And the gold I used is called Oro, and I used quite a few gold shades, but this one's really, really yellow and shows up very gold in photos, which I love. Then I am using Arium, which is a lighter version. Then I tapped it out with Brass on the brow bone highlight. Now I'm going in and micro blending all of those dark points and blending in the shade Fringe from the Natasha Denona palette, which is a really, really light mint. So I wanted to kind of create the darkest and the lightest shades that I wanted to, and I wanted to get those down in the order and the areas that I wanted to. Then I started blending and wisping out and connecting everything. A lot of blending is just taking your time and using great brushes, and I'm just taking my time with that and blending a little bit of the shades together. And I used a tiny bit of black here as well, just on the darkest points, and then I used Uncharted to really blend it in together. And I'm just micro blending and super, super blending. It does take time. It's not always the funnest thing to do, all of that blending, but it sure does give you a great result in the end. And then I'm just blending it more onto the gold because I want to use Mermaid Lagoon to kind of give it a little bit of a pop and dimension when I'm blending in the darker shades towards the inside of the eye for the spotlight. So then after using Mermaid Lagoon, I'm just blending in those shades a little bit more, and then I'm using Oz, which is like a dark mint, and I'm using that with my fingertips just because it's gonna melt really good into the eye. Then I'm using some glitter glue because I wanted to add some gold glitter just for highlights, just as a touch. Then I'm using some glue and I'm adding some gold flake because I thought I am just really, really going to make this gold really stand out. So I had to take my time here with the gold flakes. It's time consuming, but it's so worth it. It gives you that golden gilded texture and you can build upon it. I had to cut it a little bit over like my eyelid, but that's okay. It's part of the fun. Now we get to decorate all of this beautiful area and golden glitz with gemstones. So I'm using kind of like, I'm using pearls and pastel glitter gemstones, and I'm just using a very random pattern. I didn't want a complete shape. I wanted a random pattern. Then I'm going under my eye with my P. Louise base, and I'm using the gold for the highlight underneath my eye. And I'm using the same exact shades that I did before. And I'm just patting that on, and now it's going to create this clean shape after I lift off the tape, you know? It's just so easy. Then I'm using this really dark green shade eyeliner gel, and then blending it in with the same dark shades. See? Clean, 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 clean. Now I'm going in and adding the same exact detail on the halo eye above my eye and below this in the same exact order, using all the same shades. I'm just glitzing and glamming to the extreme. I wanted to really, really accentuate this whole spotlight halo the right way with the same exact design and the same exact shades, the same glitter, everything. The only thing that I didn't use was the foil. Actually, I'm wrong. I did. I used a tiny bit of the foil too, and I used different shapes of the gemstones. Now I'm just creating an eyeliner just along the line to line my lashes before I put my lashes on. I chose to go with green lashes to give it more of this cypress, earthy sort of look that I'm going for, and I thought that these lashes turned out really amazing. These are crystal lashes, and I thought it went really, really great with this golden glam, green, earthy golden glam, and that is how the eye look turned out. I just used a nude color for the lips to make my eyes really pop, and I'm using I'm Nude, an iconic nude liner from Charlotte Tilbury, and I blended it in really good. And here's my Sybil look.